So good news, I survived the insurrection, but just barely. But I do have some bad news. Two things. One is I am standing in between you and lunch, and that is never a great place to be. So we have that as a thing, but I think we can get through it. We're just going to bring up some excitement and some energy. The other problem I have is I'm speaking today with two audiences. So like we said, we have the leadership. So if you're a leader or maybe even non-technical, could you just raise your hand just so we could see how many? Yeah, so we have a lot of that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to a conference that's a technical conference. And hopefully you've gotten a lot of strategy and a lot of really good content in the first two sessions. And you're going to have more content in this session also. But the problem is I also have a lot of technical people in the audience. So technical people, raise your hand. Yeah, see, do you see the dichotomy I have? I have to speak to two of these audiences at the same time, but don't worry, I have a plan. I created a thing, nerd mode. Okay, so I'm gonna keep it out of nerd mode for 80% of the session here. But occasionally, I'm gonna have to put this button down and I'm gonna have to hit it and we're gonna go into nerd mode, okay? This blue screen and blue lights is a signal to the leaders that it's okay that if you don't understand what I'm saying. Yeah, it's okay. Also, you can check your phone. It's okay. If I see you on a phone and it's blue, it's okay. Okay, so, and I'm gonna talk really quick. So we're gonna get through that really fast, okay? So nerd mode. That's a thing. Okay, so today, now, I want to talk about how Rock empowers digital ministry. We talked this morning about what is digital ministry, finding our why, making sure we stay on mission, and not to get distracted by methods, but now we're going to talk about how do we actually implement this. Now, when we talk about Rock, we found that we kind of have a few things that we need to communicate better on, especially as a community. We say Rock, and Rock is a product, right? But really, if we boil it down to it, it's a suite of products. And so the first area of Rock is what we call the church management system. Now, historical fact, Rock was actually called Rock CHMS for about 3 weeks. And then we realized, no, this isn't big enough of the scope that we want to do. We want to make it about relationships, and that's why it's called RMS, Relationship Management System. So, but Rock checks all the boxes when it comes to church management, more so than I believe any other product. We have so many features that you can do. And these are traditional things like managing people, check-ins, reporting, all the things we would think about church management. But we didn't stop there. Rock is also an engagement platform. So when we think about groups, group scheduling, connections, that's a huge, huge feature in terms of engagements. Steps is another huge one. Learning management system is something we just added, and signups. So it's a church management system, it's an engagement management system, but it's also a communications system. Rock can do your email, your SMS, push notifications. You can even have SMS conversations right inside of Rock. You have SMS pipelines, which allow you to automate all kinds of processes over text messaging. And you get all the analytics to bear, too. Now, the fourth and final piece, and this is a piece that there's really no other product that can also do this and the rest, which is the digital publishing platform. So here is where we can power your websites, your mobile apps, your TV apps, and provide rich and deep personalization as we do it. In fact, we can only do that personalization because of the fact that we have the other three parts all in the same suite. So, as we build out our websites and mobile apps, those mobile apps are made richer by the fact that we know who you are, we know how you're engaging, even to communications. And those other tools are made richer by the fact that we know what you're doing inside of the digital publishing platform. And a lot of that comes through this technology we call interactions. So we know how you're interacting with all kinds of different experiences within your church. And we like to say because of that, that's where the magic is. Where all those things overlap, that's where the magic is, and that's what Rock is the only suite of products that can do what we do. If you were to try to do this in other ways without Rock, say you didn't use Rock, you would have to have a whole bunch of different products. And then you have to build all these integrations that go backwards and forwards with data. I have yet to see that be successful, even in the corporate world. Okay, so as a Rock community, we like to say we like to look forward, but we're going to look backwards for just a second. Because since our last conference, we did release version 17. And we know many of you have not had the opportunity yet to upgrade. So we want to just quickly run through the feature set of version 17. First and foremost, we released the learning management system. And we're so excited to see you guys already out there prototyping and building really cool learning management plugins for your and programs for your church. And again, think about this. This is another tool that gets to be made better because of all of the different data that we have in Rock. And it can power your STEPS programs, and it can know where people are in their discipleship journey, and you can really personalize the learning management system. We are not done with the learning management system. We will continue to build on top of that, as you'll see coming up. And it's just one of those features that is always going to be improved. If you're interested in the learning management system, I just want to let you know we have a session coming up on Thursday. So this is a great session to go to if you want to learn more about what's capable with that tool. We also, in V17, created this really great update to our communication wizard. It makes it so easy to drag and drop and create rich emails and SMS. So you can do some amazing things with this tool. Already, a lot of you guys have switched over to using that instead of the older tool, and we're going to continue to make this tool better too. We also know that there's so much data inside of Rock. A lot of it we push out so you can see, and some of it we're still trying to get up into a place where we can display it to you. One of the things we did in version 17 is just really show you the relationships that are already in your data, so now we can visualize it using the peer networks. I know I'm going to keep saying it, but this is a tool we're not done yet. We have some really incredible plans for how we can bring some really nice statistical analysis to peer networks. We also rolled out check-in, next-gen check-in. So it's a reimagined experience for check-in using our next-generation platform, which is faster, smoother, it's easy to style with some new features. We also rolled out at our last conference NFC mobile check-in. This allows you to take the Rock mobile app and you can tap an NFC token and automatically be checked into an environment. We see that this is a major innovation feature for the future of how you do children's check-in. You can do it right at the room. We also released an API v2, which is really tempting for me to want to come push this nerd mode, but I'm not going to because I think it's really important that you leaders understand what this feature is. APIs allow other systems to put data into Rock and to get data out of Rock, and that's super important. While we're a really great suite of tools that can really take on almost everything you need in ministry, we do recognize that we want to allow other tools to get data out of Rock and to put data back into Rock. So we rebuilt out our API technology, and it's much faster and more innovative. Okay. No more V17, because we need to talk about V18. That's the stuff you guys really want to see. And we're really excited about V18. It's a major update, and we're excited to get it into your hands. The first thing you're going to notice about V18 is its look. This is V17, and you're probably familiar with that. With V18, we have a whole new look. We spent a lot of time polishing this up, making it a much richer, more innovative styling. And so we're really happy to get that out. I've been using it a while internally, and sometimes it's really painful to go back to 17, if I'm being honest. It's so cool. And it's very easy for you to customize to your brand colors and logos. But not only that, there's a little bit more to the styling. Dark mode, yes. I was waiting to see who's out there who's going to cheer for that. Now, we all have our own sin. Dark mode is, to me, a little bit of the children of the darkness. I like to be the children of the light, but we wanted to give you options. And I can definitely tell you that we thought about it, but we did not pull it off. We thought about when you go into dark mode, maybe we'd send that signal over to the Spark database for special prayer ministry, but we didn't. Now, dark mode is an official feature. We love it. Yep, there we go, dark mode. However, the styling is even more than just dark mode, okay? So we're going to go nerd mode first time. All right, so guys, our styling is way more than looks. We have a whole new technology base to our styling. We're using a new preprocessor, and that's a way of doing CSS, a magic way of doing CSS. For those of you who are technical, we used to use less. Now we're moving to Sass. The difference is the less was compiled on the server. We're no longer doing that. Compilation will happen at dev time, and because you don't need the preprocessor on the server anymore, because we have some really great CSS variables that allow you to customize your customizations, and if you're building something new, just with CSS variables. And we have a whole new component library. If you use our CSS variables, what's really cool about that too is it should automatically work with dark mode. You shouldn't have to do any customizations. Dark mode is actually really hard, so consider that. Okay, nerd mode over. Now, how many people here are from communications or do something with communications? Yes. Do you ever feel like your communications sometimes are like a message in a bottle? Like you stuff it in there, you throw it out there, and you don't know, like, are people getting this? How are they interacting with this? Now, we have analytics to help you out, but now we have an even better feature. We worked with Trinity Fellowship, and they helped sponsor this feature. It's called Communications Flows. So think of this, if you're familiar with like drip campaigns, this is drip campaigns plus, plus, plus. So many new features. So how does it work? Well, you can schedule these flows or drip campaigns in a couple different ways. You can make them recurring. You can say, hey, here's a list of filtered people. We call that a data view. I want to send these flows for these people every month. And hopefully that list is changing. You're not bothering those people. So you can do it reoccurring. Every month, send this group of people, put them in a flow, and let them get these sets of communications. You can also do it on demand. Hey, when someone goes to my website and they click a specific button, put them into a flow so that they get these next 3 communications. Pretty cool. The last one is one time, and that allows you to set up communications for like Easter or Christmas, and you get to do it once, but you can make sure that they're getting a set of communications. Now, the way this works is once you pick how you want to be sent, you go ahead and you just start creating your communications. You set a series of communications. Here we're showing 2, but you're not limited to. You can make as many as you want. So the initial communication goes out on the start date, and in here it's an email. And then 3 days later, we're going to follow it up with a SMS message. And you can continue doing that. And you can mix and match emails, SMS, and push notifications to your heart's content. Now, it doesn't end there, because you can also define goals with your communication flows. Usually you're communicating with people for a reason. There's a goal, there's an objective you're trying to get them to achieve, and you can define that within your flow. Now, this is what makes Rock magic, because if you're doing this in any other product, you can't see what they're doing back inside of your church management system. You can't see the goals actually happening. All you can do is send emails. But Rock can actually let you define goals and even have a percentage of people you'd like to have achieve that goal. Now, what are these goals? Well, the goals can be quite broad. You can have a goal be joining a group, registering for an event, completing a step, being in a filtered list of people that we call data views, or completing a workflow form. So imagine that. You go and you set the set of communications, you set your goal, and there you have it. Now, it gets even better. What happens when someone reaches a goal? You kind of could perhaps want to stop talking to them, right? You don't want to keep repeating, hey, join a group, I did. You can stop the flow in several different ways. You can stop it and say, hey, no, they have to get all the emails. This is like a classic drip campaign. I need them to get all 3, and unless they unsubscribe, send them all 3. Or you can say, hey, if they've opened any one of the previous emails in the flow, okay, that's enough, stop. Or, well, they need to do more than open. They actually have to click on something in the email. And the final one is what I described too, which is the conversion. The goal was met. Because if they've already joined the group, just stop. They don't need to hear about it anymore. On top of this, you get a really rich set of analytics, so you can see how your flows are going. You can see how many people have converted, how many people have opened the email, clicked the email. Really powerful analytics. So we think this is going to be a game changer for your communications teams in terms of the capabilities you can do right inside of Rock. Now, What happens when you have all these rich communication tools and you're using them to your heart's content? Well, you might tend to oversaturate them with emails. And now we have a communication saturation report, which tells you how many emails people are getting in a certain defined specific point in time, or a date range, and you get to define that. You can see that both at the macro level, like this chart, which is basically telling you the number of people who got between 1 and 3 emails, 4 and 6, continuing, or you can see it at the micro level. So you can actually see individuals and how many emails did that person get. It's really nice to see it this way because sometimes it gives you better context of like, well, that person is a super volunteer, so I guess that kind of makes sense. All this in the hope that you can craft your communications to prevent the most dreaded thing in communications, which is the unsubscribe. When someone unsubscribes, tap out, you can no longer communicate with them. And so we're trying to prevent that. Communications also keeps going in version 18 with a brand new reimagined communication analytics capability. We've had this feature for a while, and this we kind of reimagined how that could be and gave it a lot more features. So communication analytics is just a really nice polish of that capability. One of the cool things in this communication analytics is you can now see how your communications are performing in this really nice Sankey diagram. It basically tells you, well, how many of them were successfully delivered, how many of them were opened, clicked, and how many had an error. So you can kind of see the flow graphically. You've always had the data, but you always had to kind of picture it in your head. Now it becomes much more smooth and easy to see the success of that. Okay, another cool feature in 18, switching now from communications to some other feature sets, we have the incorporation of Lava applications into the core product of Rock. Lava Applications started its life as a plugin, and it's been since donated into core, and now you can build these really cool applications. And again, I'm tempted to hit the nerd button, but we're not going to, because as leaders, it's important that you understand this. While Rock provides a lot of capabilities, we can't provide you all the capabilities. There's such a rich ecosystem of churches here, and you guys have some really innovative ways of doing ministry. And we know we can't check all the boxes. With Lava Applications, we provided a really simple way for you to extend Rock and build out applications of your own without having to know complex programming. We use a templating language that we call Lava. So Lava is a very, very simplified programming language. We call it a templating language because it's so simple. And so this allows your teams, your technical teams, to build out some really cool features. So what are the benefits? It's powerful yet simple to develop. Lava can now modify data. It used to be that the Lava templating language could only read data. Now it can actually write data, which is really, really powerful. And you can create some really incredible experiences. Okay, now for the technical people, nerd mode. We got to go into nerd mode. Sorry. There's also some other benefits. You don't need to know JavaScript to build these really rich interfaces. No JavaScript required, which is great. But yet, you can still have reactive user experiences, which means like the page just kind of modifies itself without having like reload it. It just feels modern and feels smooth. It also has very incredible performance. The speed that these pages are modifying themselves is just really, really cool. One more point for you technical people. It's really easy, but you don't need to tell your leadership team that, okay? So don't worry, they're on their phones right now. They're not paying attention. So don't make it sound too easy, okay? Just sigh a lot. One person told me when I worked at Honeywell, if you want to look busy, just walk quickly with a clipboard and sigh down the hallway, and people will think you're busy. And it destroyed my knowledge of him because he did that all the time, and then I realized he really wasn't that busy. Okay, staying in nerd mode for just a minute, adding to Lava applications. We've added a new Lava shortcode for a group finder. We know that almost every church is innovating in the areas of group finders, and we made this really nice shortcode that makes that very, very easy, especially when paired with Lava applications. So this allows your technical teams to really quickly make these group finders. Now, when it comes to group finders, we know privacy is an utmost concern. And many of you are turning away from maps and using card-based interfaces. But it's still really important to know how close a group is to a person. And we've been able to do that for a long time in Rock, basically from the very beginning. However, our location, our distance, was always a measure of as the crow flies. And we know in our communities that's not always the closest group. With this new Lava shortcode, we actually can tell you driving distance and driving time, cycle distance and cycle time, or walking distance and walking time. And so again, this is really makes it very simple for you to build out these really nice group finders using Lava applications. Okay, let's come out of nerd mode. We're going to talk about our next feature, which is group placement, which was sponsored by Second Baptist Church. Now, I might be thinking, well, group placements, you've had that for a while, and we have, but this is a complete reimagining of that tool, and it uses our next generation framework. So it's very fast, it's very smooth. You can even do things like you can click multiple people and drag them all at once. But also what we did is we recognized that typically the group placement tool is used in event registrations for taking things like moving registrants into buses or moving them into cabins or activities. And that's like probably its primary use case, definitely today, but we thought this tool could be used for so much more. So we actually moved it out of event registration. Don't worry, you can still get to it easily from event registration, but we thought we could do so much more. So you can now use group-to-group placement. So from one group, a master group, you can drag people into child groups. Really, really easy. And we think it can do so much more. So again, it's a starting point. And so we can't wait to get that into your hands because you're going to really notice how fast and easy it is to do the group placements. Like I said, we've also made some updates to the LMS system. We've enhanced the notification email. We added a new type of activity within a learning management system, which is called content article. Before, every activity was basically a gradable type of activity. This is actually one that's not gradable. It's like, hey, I'm just going to tell you something, okay? And I'll quiz you on it later. And we've actually expanded the grading system that you can use. You can use lots of different grading systems, and we made it even more rich. The next feature is one that many of you were left to your own devices to solve, and that was around knowing where a record came from. How did this record get into your database? Now, within Rock, you can define record sources, and from pretty much anywhere you can create a new record, you can tell where that record came from, or you can set a custom source if you'd like. So things like creating an account on your website, registering, workflows, prayer. Again, pretty much anywhere a person record can be made, you can now define how it got there. Okay, got to go back into nerd mode for just one more second, and this has to do with geolocation blocking. Many of you have trouble with bots. The bots come to your site, and they do some nasty things. Sometimes they're entering data, and that's not a good thing. CAPTCHAs have been put into a lot of the pages, but sometimes you just want to block that traffic. Well, for a while in Rock, you could always know where a request came from. Unfortunately, you could only know it after the fact, which wasn't very helpful. So we re-architected the whole thing. Now, as the request comes into Rock, we know exactly what country, what state, and roughly what city it is. And now you can actually block that request in Rock. You can do that at the page level, block by country, or you can do it at the whole instance level. Hey, for some reason, Singapore is attacking me right now. Just block all traffic from Singapore. Now, it's important to note that this type of technology is better suited for a CDN. However, we know that not every church has a CDN and has the time to use a CDN. So this is just a nice little tool for those of you who don't have CDNs to implement. Okay. Back out of nerd mode for a second, and we're going to talk about steps. We call this core steps. It's kind of ironic that as a core developer, I don't really know in your instances who's baptized or who's in a group. Some of these really important things that we want to do to provide nice, rich analytics for you, we're kind of limited on because Rock is so extensible. You all do it different ways. And we're kind of left going, how do we know? We need these anchor points in Rock so that we can help you build better analytics systems. So we're providing, out of the box, 4 core steps: baptism, small group, serve, and ERA. Some of these have already existed. Some of them you might be using. but we're making sure that every Rock instance has these, and you can't delete them. And we're going to hope that these become the system of records for these types of steps over time. We're not enforcing that, but we just want to be able to help you more, and not knowing these things feels very awkward to us. We'll be building out more features around that, but for now, we want to make sure they're in your system and encourage you guys to get there, and we'll continue to provide more features to make that even easier for you. Steps got a lot more attention. I would say steps today is really powerful, but again, it's kind of like zooming in on the map. Especially as a core developer, it's hard for us to understand, like, what are these steps and what do they mean? You know what they mean, but we don't know what they mean, and that leaves, the outcome of that is you have to do a lot of customization to show that to your attendees. So we want to kind of zoom out, provide a few features that allow us to zoom out and let us understand what you're trying to intend to happen with those steps. So the first thing we're going to add to the step program, this is a new setting, is we're going to add this definition of what is the completion flow of this step program. Do the steps in the step program, are they required to be done linearly? You can't do B until you do A, or is it linearly preferred? We prefer you to do A before B, before C, but you don't have to. You can go out of order if you want, but if we're going to recommend an order, we would suggest you do it this way. Or the third option is like, it doesn't matter. Order literally doesn't matter. We just want you to describe your step programs so that we as a core team can build out more features, especially on your websites, to help constrain people to the order of these steps. Currently, you're left having to do that in Lava and other techniques that is not very productive or efficient. Okay, switching down to the step types. We want to add a few more settings on step types for you to describe each type. So, for example, we want to have a setting called engagement type. And this helps us understand, like, how do people interact with this step? Is it a milestone? Is it like one and done, like baptism? For the most part, people get baptized once. Is it one and done, or is it kind of a rhythm, like being in a group? Sometimes you're in a group, sometimes you're not in a group. So you're kind of in and out of this step. So we want you to describe to us how is the engagement type of this step. The next setting we're going to add is the impact weight. We know that every step type has the same weight, the same impact in your organization. For instance, baptism probably has a high weight. Some churches have another step that would be in the same program, which is to share their testimony. That's great. That's a great idea, but it doesn't have the same organizational weight as baptism. And so we want to build out some really nice analytics that shows you and adjusts not just the step count, but the step impact. So that would be like count times weight. This is we feel like is a great idea because sometimes, I'm not saying every campus pastor would do this, but maybe some, if they were to say, hey, I want everybody to increase their steps by 30%, if I was a campus pastor, I might try to shoot for that, share my testimony, because that's a lot easier than maybe the baptism. But if we show it by weight, it becomes a lot easier to see the difference. And we'd ask that you just, for every step type, you just tell us what the weight is. The next one I'm really excited about, and that's describing the step to the organizational objective. Now, we're going to ship out of the box with 3 objectives: outreach, discipleship, and activation. We really feel like every church, they call them different terms, and you can actually rename these terms, but we want you to use it for the intended purpose, just for analytics. If you don't, your analytics are going to look a little strange. You can add your own objectives. If you have some unique objectives within your ministry, you can add more, but we want you to use these as a base. Now, one of the things when we're working with websites is it's really important to measure steps, but it's also equally important to get people to take their next step. But we really feel constrained and unable to help you in that way because we don't know for each one of your step types how to encourage them to take the next step. So the next setting is a group of settings called call to action. And so we feel like to do a call to action, we need 3 things from you: a label, a description, and a link. If you provide us this information, as we build out more tools in the future, you'll be able to just drop blocks onto your page, and it'll actually know how to get the person to take their next step. Right now, we can't do that. We're left with creating custom lava, which is really not that efficient and not a good use of time and money to make custom lava every time. And as I've been hinting at over and over and over, the analytics has gotten a huge update inside of Steps. So you'll still have the basic analytics that you have today, but you're going to have a lot more. There's so many different ways to start slicing and dicing your Steps data. This is just showing you one example, which is over time and showing you by step type. But there's just a lot of capability there. So you'll be able to do a lot of things today. You have to go to a tool like Tableau or Power BI. You'll be able to do it right inside of Rock. Okay, so unfortunately, I got another quick nerd mode here for you leaders. Automations. Automations allow you to customize the data flow within Rock. So you do two things to define an automation. One, define the trigger. Triggers today are primarily going to be when data changes in Rock. So you'll be able to go in there and say, hey, when a person record is updated, and then you can give some criteria, that is my trigger. When that happens, I then want to define a set of events. These events can be run a lava template or launch a workflow. We're just getting started with this feature, but already this is going to be a great replacement for what we called workflow triggers. Workflow triggers are used by a lot of churches, and they're great, except they don't perform super well. Every time you have to launch a workflow, it's a pretty monumentous task within Rock. There's a lot of data that has to be read and written, and that's not the fastest way to do it. This tool is going to be a replacement, a gradual replacement to workflow triggers. And we would encourage you to use lava templates instead of workflows whenever possible. It's just really going to save the tax on your systems and let your systems perform at a much higher level. And again, just getting started with this, we actually developed this tool for some key features in the future that we just noticed that we needed this ability to change data when things happened. Okay, so those are the major features of 18. There's a lot of minor features that we don't have time to go over. So what do you think? Those features good? Yeah. The big question probably is going to be like, well, when do I get my hands on that? Well, it's coming soon. As you get closer to the conference, you have goals, but then you get to the conference, I'm not sure. Our goal, though, right now, is that it will be in alpha testing within 2 to 3 weeks. Alpha testing usually takes 2 weeks, beta testing usually takes 2 weeks, and then a final release. So we're really close. All the development of all those features is completely done. We just want to give it a really hefty set of QA before it goes out. So that leads us to what's coming. Now, when we work inside of Spark, we're like your organization. And Dan Heath kind of mentioned it a lot too. It's we're all dealing with constraints, right? We don't have all the resources and the money to do all the things we want all the time. So we created this intentional prioritization framework. So this is kind of like a metric we use, and it's several different metrics. We look at it from all different angles, okay? So one of the ones I want to show you is our feature mix. How do we prioritize our features? So what I'm showing you here is kind of where we have the sliders set for version 18. You saw all the communication features. So definitely we had our slider up to max on 18. Now, okay, this is very transparent to put graphs like this up. Just realize we want them all to be to the top, but that's not life. So we're just being incredibly honest and showing you with the limited resources that we have, this is where we set it. Does that mean that we had no engagement features in V18? No, you saw all the steps ones. Digital publishing got plenty of additions. Church management even got additions, but communications was maxed out. So where are we going with version 19? Well, these are the sliders that we have for version 19. We're bringing down communications. Would there be no communication features in 19? No, there'll be plenty. In fact, we already have some slated and ready to go to development. But we're pushing up to max engagement. So that's going to mean primarily connections. Connections is going to get a major rehaul of next-gen technology and also some new UX and some new features. And digital publishing will get some new tools too. Now, if you want to know what's going on a little bit more deeply in the roadmap, I'll be doing a session called Rock Lab on Thursday. I would highly recommend, though, that this be something that you watch later, because there's so many other good live ones going on at the same time. This is definitely one that would be a great one to catch up on video. However, if it's something that's insanely interesting to you, come on over. Now, this is just Rock Core. Realize there's also Rock Mobile. Rock Mobile is such an important piece of what we do. Hopefully, you've seen from the first session how important our mobile apps are going to be in the future. And Rock Mobile is something we're super proud of. The first thing, and now this is, the first couple features actually exist in our live today, but the first one is chat. So we have a very robust and capable chat system within Rock Mobile. Hopefully many of you are using it today at the conference. This is like its first major use, and it's really great. It has a lot of capabilities. Now, the coolest thing to me, at least, is that it's completely bundled inside of Rock. So authentication, it just knows who you are. You don't have to onboard and link and do all that kind of stuff. Also, everything in chat is a channel, but to us, we have a joke. Wherever two or more are gathered, Jesus will be there, and we'll call it a group. So channels are really just groups to us. So group sync, that all works inside of there. But you also have all the things you'd expect in a chat system: threads, reactions, mentions, pinned conversations, public and DMs, notifications. You can share documents, images, and links. And again, interactions. That's such a magic thing to Rock. So we're not writing all those conversations in the Rock. I mean, through the API, we can get to that. But more importantly, every day we're going to track who talked in which channels and write an interaction for that. So from within Rock, you'll be able to quickly use data views and such to see how people are interacting in chat, just like everything else. There's also a web version of chat, so we've invested in that. And this is something that, again, we're prioritizing the mobile expression of chat, but we've actually been working hard on the web version too. It's our internal goal, although I'll deny it if you repeat it, that we would like to get rid of Rocket Chat and use this primarily going forward. We still have quite a bit of work to do to get that dream a reality, but that's our goal. The next feature that already exists in Rock Mobile, and hopefully many of you used it this morning, perhaps you didn't know, was Bluetooth Beacon Proximity Check-in. This allows your phone to be configured so that when you enter into an environment through what we call a geofence, it can already mark you as attended. So we had many of you try to come into the conference with your phones all configured, and as you walked in, you're probably handed, many of you, your check-in tag, your label. Some of you, I'm not sure, realized how that happened, but it's because your phone communicated to a beacon and said, they're here. It printed on the label printer, and you were just handed your name tag. We feel like this is a major milestone in tackling what I call the holy grail of church management, which is attendance, adult attendance. So this is a really great way to get that adult attendance. Now, it's all done through privacy. Obviously, the person has to opt in, and we've created a really great user experience to make sure that we can communicate to the person what needs to happen on their phone to enable this. So this, again, is ready for you guys to experiment and to play with. Now, one thing that we're working on next, so what I'm about to talk about is not here yet, but I really want to show it to you, is a new feature for Rock Mobile. We were talking earlier this morning about the importance of getting tools to our church family that are very similar to what we use in Rock, and this is the first example. We're so excited about this tool. It's called the Outreach Toolbox. This is a tool that we've been dreaming about literally for years. This is something we've always really wanted. And we wanted to do something special for you guys on this. We wanted to make it a tool, at least for the first version. We wanted it to provide it completely as a gift for you. So we didn't want to use your donation money to provide it. So we reached out to the full service partners and asked them, hey, do you guys want to help with this? And we're lucky to get one who was able to contribute some money to it. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough. So we went to some private donors and said, hey, this is something we would really like to give to the community. Would you be willing to contribute some of your own personal money to this? We're happy to announce between those two sources, we have this thing for version 1 fully funded. And again, the goal of this, yeah, you can clap. The goal of this is to equip God's people to do his work, to build up the church and the body of Christ. So how does this work? Okay, so this is all within your Rock mobile app. So your Rock mobile app can do all the other things it does today, and then you can add this feature to it. It allows them, just like Rock, to add contacts. Now, we don't suggest they add all of their contacts. They have a contact list within their device for that. But these are the contacts that they want to track relationships with and build relationships with. So first, they'll enter in their name, contact information, and some basic demographics, like birth date. And then we're going to start asking them about the relationship. So what is the relationship strength? Like, how well do you know this person? Next, we're going to ask for a relationship goal or objective. And this is going to ask, hey, what are you hoping to achieve out of this? Are you hoping to deepen this relationship, mend the relationship? Just let us know. Next, we're going to ask some prayer notes. So a big piece of this is to pray for those people, but also to contact them. So how often do you want to connect with this person? How often do you want to be reminded that you need to make a connection? In a sense, we're trying to build the app so that we can all be the intentional people that we want to be on the inside, but we just don't have the tool or the discipline to do it on our own. With that, we're just going to ask, hey, what is the salvation status of this person? And are they baptized? Because obviously this is a big deal. We want to make sure that this is a very outreach-focused feature. With that all entered in, you'll now be able to get access to your contacts within the app. But that's just the beginning, because now every day we're going to create these touch points based on the schedule that you've asked to be connecting with them and praying for them. We're going to create touch points. And so you'll be push notified every morning, hey, you've got this many touch points ready. And you'll enter into a touch point wizard where you'll just jump through those touch points one at a time. So here's an example of a prayer touch point. So this is like saying, hey, on this cadence, you asked to pray for this person. Here's the person that you need to pray for, and here's the prayer note that you wanted to keep for this person as you pray. You can also do contacts. So you can come right here and it says, hey, it's time to contact Ted Decker. Not only that, it's going to help you make that contact. So you can say text message, and it's going to open up the iMessage or message on Android and let you actually type the text message, or call the person. Or it might be that you work in person with them and you can just mark that I touched base with them in the hallway, and so everything's done. Again, this is trying to help you be the intentional person that you want to be. Not only that, it will help remind you of birthdays and anniversaries so you can celebrate people in that way. And we know from experience that this is a very great way to deepen relationships. A couple times a year, we'll also put in a special touch point called a pulse. And this is a touch point where we're going to follow up and say, hey, how's your relationship going? Has it strengthened? Has that goal been met? Oh, and have they accepted Jesus? If so, have they been baptized? Do you need help with that? Because we can help you get them baptized. All of that is helping to be done for you. Now, when we put these contacts into Rock, we're not going to put them in as normal people into the database, because this isn't really the church's data, this is their data. So we're going to segregate that information to keep it really private. And we'll be providing tools to help gamify this so that it makes it fun and engaging, and that's something that they're going to want to continue to do. So gamification will be a big deal of this. Now, if you want to know about these features of Rock Mobile or a whole lot of other things that have been done and is being worked on, we have a whole keynote for Rock Mobile that's coming up on Wednesday. Braden's going to lead that. He's like the lead champion of our Rock Mobile team, and he's doing an amazing job. And if you're interested in Rock Mobile, that's definitely a session you're going to want to look at. Okay, so it is the year 2025, and we're at a tech conference. Like, what is the topic that we need to discuss? Yeah, perfect. You guys are so smart. AI. Well, we haven't been asleep at the switch for AI. We've been hard at work doing this. Now, if we look at AI, there's two basic classifications of different types of AI. There's generative AI, which is basically kind of like that talking video that we showed in the beginning, that baby video. Basically, it creates videos, it creates images, it creates articles, it creates content. It's a very powerful use of AI. And we think it has a lot of benefit within the church management system, and we already have some tools, and we're working on other tools to do some generative AI. The other type of AI is what we call agentic AI. And this is basically letting the AI do tasks that we would normally do, right? And so as we balance these two things out, we feel like the one that we want to prioritize most right now is agentic AI. For a lot of the reasons that you saw in the first keynote, many people are switching over from web browsing to using AI, and the only way to get AI to be even more powerful than it is to help it by giving it tools. That's not to say we're not doing anything with generative AI, but we just feel like there's a ton of other great services out there, and the integration of that is much simpler than doing agentic AI. And so we feel like the harder thing for us to do right now is agentic AI, and we would rather put our time into that. So we have a new Rock AI agent. It looks a little bit like Chip. Now, this is not an 18. I got to be really clear, because I've messed this up in the past when I haven't been clear. This is not an 18, but everything I'm about to show you is working and is real code. We're hoping that it'll be a 19 and that we'll be able to prototype it with some key churches just to shake it out. So when we make these AI agents, we're basically taking the large language models that you use today, that you're used to, and we're giving it some superpowers. And we call these skills or tools. And so we're going to create skills and have created skills for searching for people, providing insights on people, which is like giving attendance, media views, being able to send communications, finding and adding people to groups, adding notes, prayer, workflows, connection requests, and much, much more. Our goal is if a staff person can do it in Rock, we want to provide agent skills for that. And maybe even a few things for administrators. So let me give you an example of a real use case. Okay, so I'm going to actually show you the real thing, but here's the use case. I'm a pastor. I'm about to go take Ted Decker to lunch. So before I go to lunch, I better brush up and know a little bit about Ted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Rock agent, and I'm going to say, give me a summary of Ted Decker. Okay, so I'm going to push that. It's going to go right in there. Give me a summary of Ted Decker. So it's calling search person. Okay, who is this Ted? I better go look him up in the database. Oop, I found him, looking up his profile, and now it's spitting out insights about Ted. One of the things to note here is that there is a prayer request that his neighbor Pat was recently in a motorcycle accident and is still in the hospital. And it gives us the date. Okay, now, I'm a really good staff person, and I'm sure all your staff person are just like me. And before I go to have lunch with him, I want to check to see, is there any missing information on his record that I could get from him and put into the database? Your staff do that, right? Yeah, you're laughing, okay. So I'm going to say right here, any missing information on his record? And it's going to go back, okay, I'm going to go look at that profile. And I've told it kind of what's important in the system prompt. Yeah, he's missing his birth date. Do you want me to add it? I'm like, no, I don't know what it is. I haven't been to the meeting yet. Okay, with this information, I go to lunch. I talk with Ted. We have some stuff that we need to, hash out, some encouragement to get him more involved. And so I go to have lunch, and I come back from lunch, and now I'm going to come back to the agent and say, hey, update his birthday to February 10th, because I did my job. And so notice the AI is going to go February 10th. Okay, that's a 2 and a 10. I'm going to go update his record. I'm going to put his month and year in there. I didn't feel like asking for his year because I didn't want to get too sensitive. He's like, okay, I did that. Do you have the full date? Nope, don't have that, sorry. Now I want to get some more business done. I want to come back and I want to ask, hey, I want to add a note to Ted's record saying that we had lunch and we talked about becoming a ministry leader in small groups. Okay, so I click that, it goes right in, it first has to go say, what note types are in rock that might be the best note type for this? So it goes and looks that up, tries to use its little brain to say, okay, well, I think this is the best note type, and now I'm going to go add the note for you. And it's going to note that it's not an alert note and it's not pinned. But if I tell it I want that, it'll go change it for me. Okay? Okay, I'm not done because I got more work I got to do here. I want to send him a text message saying, hey, thanks for lunch, and I'm going to be praying for his neighbor, Pat. So there, it's going out there saying, okay, well, I guess I better author this text message for you. Now, with communications, it's not going to go ahead and just send it for you because that might be not the best idea. We want to show you what the text message is going to be, and then it's going to say, like, is it okay to send it? And I said yes, and it's like, okay, calling send communication. All right, it's sent. Didn't really have to do anything, right? All there. Okay, I'm still not done because I'm a good pastor. Add a reminder to follow up in 10 2 weeks to see how his neighbor is doing. So click that. Whoops, went right. Oh, I'm sorry. We jumped ahead. It made the reminder. So it found the reminder type, and it found the reminder. Now I spoiled the secret. You can actually do this with voice, too. Okay, so we're going to do and call the same actions, and I'm going to pretend to do the same thing, but now I'm going to use a voice agent. Now, this is all real code. This is all real happening. However, the user experience is something we really want to improve, but we wanted to show you something, so we had to go quick. Okay, so let's just see what this sounds like in voice mode.
Hey there, what can I do for you?
Oh, hey, can you give me the summary for Ted Decker?
Getting that for you. Ted Decker is a member who serves as the outreach pastor at Rock Solid Church and is connected to the Peoria campus. He is married to Cindy, and they have 2 kids, Noah, who is 10, and Alex, who is 7. There are no recent notes, and there is a recent prayer request asking for prayer for his neighbor, Pat, who was in a motorcycle accident and is still in the hospital. Can I help you with anything else?
Yeah, is there anything missing from his record?
Looks like only his birth date is missing from the items you asked about. His mobile phone, home address, and email are all present. Want me to add his birth date now?
So, of course, I don't know that yet. Okay, so imagine I'm on my way to visit with Ted, and I'm able to do this right in the car. So we can have this voice experience in the car. Now I come back from the lunch. I'm driving back.
Update his birth date to February 10th.
Done. His birth month and day are now set to February 10th. Can I help you with anything else?
Yes, add a note to his record saying that we had lunch and talked about him becoming a ministry leader in the small groups area.
Done. I added a personal note. Had lunch and talked about him becoming a ministry leader in the small groups area. It is not marked alert, private, or pinned. Can I help you with anything else?
Yes, can you send him a text message thanking him for lunch and telling him that I'll be praying for his neighbor, Pat?
On it. Here's the draft I prepared for Ted. Message body. Thanks for lunch today, Ted. I enjoyed our conversation about small groups. I will be praying for your neighbor, Pat, and am here if you need anything. Would you like me to send that as is or make any edits?
Go ahead and send it as is.
Sent. The text to Ted has been queued. Can I help you with anything else?
Yeah, one final thing. Can you add a reminder to follow up with Ted in 2 weeks to see how his neighbor's doing?
All set.
I think our video ended a little too soon. But basically, it comes back and says the reminder is there. So what do you think? Is that useful? Now, again, these are just prototypes. The voice that you hear is actually not the voice we're going to land on. The voice that you're hearing is through a technology called 11 Labs, and we're changing it over right now to use OpenAI, which has a much more natural voice. And also, when I showed you the agent, that was more in like a global agent. We also plan on embedding the agent into different places in Rock. So for instance, on the person profile, you don't have to know like who you're talking about. You're on the person profile. So if you're talking about a person, we're going to link it to the person that you're currently looking for. So there's a lot of user experience that we're still working out. But again, that is all there. That is all working. So all of this uses these skills and tools. And these are written in native code. So what does that mean for us? That means C#. So if you're a C# developer, you can build these tools and skills. And we will be opening it up to the plugins too. So plugins will be able to add these skills if they know native code. Or, I don't know, Lava? You want to be able to do native skills in Lava? Yeah. So if you know Lava, you can now make skills. You're now an agentic programmer if you're a Lava programmer. Just using these same things, we'll call your tool. Your tool will do something and spit back information back to the LLM. It's that easy. So we know that many of you guys have ministries, things that are innovative that are not part of core. So for instance, if you have something maybe called Dream Team and you want to like have special insights about that, just write your own Lava skill and boom. The LLM will call your tool will do something and pass back results, data, and all of a sudden you're just like us as native code writers. And again, these things can basically do anything. If you can write it in Lava, you can have the agent do it. So that's pretty cool, but we're just getting started. It does more than that. There is a new technology called MCP. MCP allows other tools to call into Rock to use our tools. So there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications out there that can now call into Rock, AI agents who can call into Rock and do things. Now, all this is secured. Every single skill has its own security, so you can define who has access to what skills, just like you can everything in Rock. So if you use Claude, for instance, which is like a frontier model that you can use, Claude can do everything I just showed you earlier. So where I was talking into the AI agent, you can do all of that from Claude if you wish. You can do it all from OpenAI. Any tool that supports MCP gets to participate in this. And there's literally hundreds. Every day, there's numerous tools that can do this. So let me just show you a quick example. I said, like in Claude, you can do all of this, and you can. But let's change the context. Let's just say that in the future, I want my attendees to get some very basic information out of the Rock database calling tools in Claude. So for instance, maybe I forgot when the service times are. So with this, I can say, what are the service times for a specific campus? And it's going to go make the tool call and say, well, your service times for that campus. It's going to go do a lookup for campuses and then say, okay, for Peoria, there's the times. Now, show me upcoming events. So it's going to, again, make a tool call into Rock, find the calendar, and bring back a list of those events. So you can empower your own people to do this. Now today, to do this, you have to configure your Claude to reach out to this endpoint. But that's going away soon. All of the agentic models are moving to the point where they can auto-discover these tools. So they can make a call to your website and say, hey, do you have any tools I should know about? And they can say, well, yes, I do. Here's some tools. And so this whole customization and programming will all be taken care of us. So this is an example of how in the future, people aren't going to go to your website to find this information. Your AI that you use every day is going to know so much about you that it knows what church you go to. And it knows an easy lookup to find that church's website, and it's going to go make a call to the tools and say, what do you have for me? And what can I do for this person? So this person should be able to update their giving. They'll be able to register for events, whatever they want, right within inside of their agents. Now all the use cases I've been showing you today have been real time, right? We're typing and we're calling tools and we're having things done. And that's a great use for us, and that'll probably be a big use for it. Just realize, though, that there's also an offline automation use case. So earlier I mentioned on the slide, there's a mention of a product called N8N. N8N is like an automation framework. Think of it as Zapier, if you're familiar with Zapier. It's like Zapier++. It's like a major version of Zapier. And a lot of these AI agents can now do this work offline. So you can automate certain things and have it call your tools and make really intelligent decisions about what it should do. And we think that that's an amazing thing. Just plug for Zapier. Zapier can also do this too, but it's not quite as powerful as N8N. Okay, so this is really more than code that we've written. So everything I showed you took code to write, but we spent an insane amount of time trying to understand the best practices for writing agentic tools. And the team, I'm so proud of them. We've poured so much time into trying to understand this. We've worked really hard to understand prompt engineering. How do you ask for things with LLMs and get the best results? And we've taken that, we've built it into what we've done, so you don't really have to go as deep as we had to understand this. We're providing you user experiences that are going to help you be expert-level prompt engineers. And we've really worked hard with something called context engineering, which is making sure that we don't overload the agent with too much information, yet we provide it enough to still be powerful. That's a really hard thing right now. Everybody right now in the AI industry is talking about context engineering, and boy, we had to go deep to understand that. But we've also provided a lot of documentation and training, so when this comes out, you will be able to stand on top of everything that we've done and go forward. So there is a session on this. It was a mystery session before, but now there's no mystery. It's a deeper walkthrough about what we're doing. Again, I would say this is a great one to catch on video. There's a lot of other great live resource sessions at this time. Catch this one on video unless it's something that's what you really want to see, come on by. But again, this would be a great one to watch on video. We feel like AI, where it's going, especially with this agentic information, is so important. And we really feel like it's going to become the fifth pillar of rock of what we do. And so going into this, we were really excited, but I think we got more excited the more we saw it working. So that leads me back to the question I've been asking all day. How does it feel? I think this one probably makes you feel a little bit, this session probably makes you feel a little bit different. Like there's just so much stuff that you have to go back and now figure out and how to get in and play. But I want to cast a vision of how we see ourselves at Spark. We talk a lot internally and on the podcast, so hopefully you guys have heard this reference before, but we really feel like Spark Development Network is the weapons manufacturer for spiritual warfare. We want to create these weapons and put them in your hands and watch you just do damage out there in spiritual warfare. And then we want to watch how it went, and then we want to adjust those weapons. And then we want to make better weapons based on what you told us. And then we want to jump in the trench and fight with you with these tools. And that's kind of how we see it. However, it's not just like one weapon we gave you. We just gave you a whole bunch of stuff, right? There's just a lot of stuff that you have to do. And I'm looking forward to seeing who's fighting with those nunchucks, okay? Like if you're going for the nunchucks, let's talk. But it can feel overwhelming, right? How many people feel overwhelmed by all the things that Rock does? No one? Oh, come on. I know you guys all feel overwhelmed. I hear it all the time. So that goes back to the point of like, we got to get in the fight here. We got to be like the third chimp on the ramp of Noah's Ark. Like, that is not a good place to be. You want to be one or two. You don't want to be three, because you know what happens to three. And we need to fight to get there. So stay encouraged and just give it every fiber of your being into what you're doing, because it's so, so important. What's also important is lunch. So Emily's going to come up and give us a few final announcements and how to get to lunch. And so thanks for your time, and hopefully you see the value of what we're doing. And if you have questions on that, just grab one of us in the hallway.